Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron, I hope you're having an incredible day or night in Jesus. We're looking at the rise of the Catholic system. We'll explain some about that in just a moment. But thanks for being here. We're using as our base textbook Apostolic History Outline, Marvin Arnold. I've said so much about it, I'm not going to just keep saying it in these dozens of videos. So let's get started. So the rise of the Catholic system, how did this happen? So about 80-90 to 140, when Catholic Greek bishops ignored biblical Acts 2:38 ecclesiology, according to Neander, page 127, and invented the Greek-Latin Trinity hypothesis, along with triune infant baptism, and then devised to do penance. These inventions led to utter apostasy. Now, that sentence is loaded with tons of nuances. And I would say 90 to 140, you still had the embryonic Trinitarian system. We don't have any Quadratus 125 AD. It's considered by most to be the first to have any kind of Trinitarian language, even though he doesn't use the term Trinity or triune or three persons, one God, or anything associated with it. The first person that's going to use the later three hypostases is Valentinus the Gnostic in 149 AD. Most people during this period that the writings have been preserved, and know this, these writings have been selectively preserved because they promote some or many aspects of what later became Catholicism, was it known as the Catholic Church at that time. They may have used it in the term universal. That they would be considered heretics today because the Trinity is considered a development, not something that's explicitly scriptural. And so the sin conductual averagism was the result. The Catholic goal, all in given locality, will naturally lead to an immoral church condition. Now, what conductual averagism is you just do what the average person is doing in your area. There was a lot of nuances to that. Like a lot of pagans didn't come to faith in Jesus Christ, but when it became kind of the law of the land, they're like, I'd prefer not to die or lose everything. So they just became cultural Christians. And you still see that in certain parts of the United States of America. I won't mention any names, but I'm in the deep South. You run into that. And it's just conductual averagism. And it's like holiness standards. Do you get how you conduct yourself from the Bible? Or is it just kind of how everybody does it around you? There's a lot there. We could do a multi-part series, and it probably has been done. If not, others can do it on, or maybe we'll do it later, conductual averagism. Incredible. 8920, the Vatican acquired additional lands. So we're seeing, if you're on the ground through church history, walking through church history, there's still tons of people who are not Catholic all over the world, even in Italy, all over the place. Just tons. You've had the rise of Islam by this time, which, strangely enough, when you read the Christian writings of that day, was seen as kind of like a sect of Christianity. I mean, we won't even go into all that. I have in previous videos, other videos. But I'm thinking like Peter and that area stuff. But anyhow, that the Catholic system is gradually gaining over peoples, princes, lands, but it by no means was triumphant at this time. If it ever really totally was, it did, about 1500s, it was getting close though. But you still had Wycliffe, you still had Huss, you still had others. You had like the Teppel Codex and all this, German 1483. There was bequeathals to the Vatican. Bishops confiscated lands for the Vatican. See Robinson's Earlier Ages, page 444, for one reference. But you can find that lots of places. Probably Encyclopedia Britannicas and stuff. 8928, cities and towns had new importance. Latourette, probably go into it. Jewish intellects directed construction of many cities, especially those of Spain and Portugal. From AD 800 to 1100, many Jewish families settled in Spain and Portugal. It was also, according to Robert Robinson, Ecclesiastical Research, History of Baptism, filled with Jesus' name baptism there as well. But this was, you kind of had the Moors, the Catholics, and then what were considered heterodox Christians, which in some or maybe many cases were not heterodox, they were actually original Christians, Acts 2:38 Christians. And the Jews built universities, hospitals, highways, etc., only to have them stripped from them in 1492. Now, Arnold, after reading Arnold, I've tried to read a lot of what he's done, almost everything he's ever written, and anyhow, that I know of. He's really big against Ferdinand and Isabella, 1492. And you'll see that thrown in here. So, the Jews fared better under Muslim rule than under Catholic. See S.T. Locke's and S.P. Walk's Judaism, page 19. Muslims accepted Jews and oneness as people of the book. In AD 962, Muslims smashed Catholic idols. AD 963, quote, in 963, Otto I deposed John the 12th and had the council to select his successor. For 40 years thereafter, emperors determined the choice of popes. First a German, then a Frenchman. That's Roland Bainton, excellent historian, page 167. Now, about oneness, Jews faring better under Islam, that's going to be just different in different locales, because I know in North Africa there was a big seemingly oneness contingent. They did not fare well under Muslim rule for the most part, but maybe in Spain that happened. And then the Byzantine Empire, you had the Bogomils, which were huge, and till about 1100 AD, and they were by and large Acts 2:38 adherents. You had the Khazarian Empire above them, which is kind of a lot of, in some ways it almost goes to Kunstler's 13th tribe and some kind of unique, strange theories out there and geneticism, but we stay away from all that. And then as far as like Otto the First imposing big, that happened a lot. Tons of people. You had people buying positions, including the Pope, and sometimes it was by force. Sometimes there were multiple popes. The Babylonian capture of the church. The sin of investiture. When a bishop was chosen, the feudal lord went to investiture, a ceremony of giving, investing him with titles, offices, and lands. Then the bishop became the man of the lord and served him. Later, the lord handed to the bishop legal rights to the lands. Thus, land passed on to the Vatican. That's Robinson, page 446. A lot could be said there. AD 995 to 999. You've got Hildebrand in here somewhere, who's considered to be a shining light in papal understanding. King Olaf I of Norway martyred thousands, with military might imposed Catholicism. That's Langer 204 and Locke's 279. And, you know, because you had Vikings baptizing in Jesus' name at that time period. About the same time, Catholic religion, but by the power of the sword, imposed in Iceland and Greenland. It's amazing to learn that much of Earth was subjected to Roman Catholicism by the bloody sword of military might. But again, it's increasing in power. You had Charlemagne a couple hundred years before, but it's by no means transcended and ascended in totality. Another fascinating study I've loved reading about is what happened in 1000 AD. They were sure the end of the world was coming in 1000 AD, just like those of us that lived through 2000 AD. We kind of had a sneaking suspicion that there was a chance. Well, I mean, they filled the cathedrals and everything in 1000 AD. So we're going to stop right there and just keep going. But just know there was a church. The gates of hell can't prevail against the church. Truth of the Lord endures forever. There's always been a church. So God bless. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.